finding the right bike for you. This is the most exciting part of getting into mountain biking, is finding your bike. There are so many kinds of bikes out on the market from you to pick from, but it can be super duper confusing if you're just getting into mountain biking. So, what I would recommend is getting a good beginner bike. So, what does a good beginner bike mean? Usually, it's gonna be relatively inexpensive. You know, you're just getting into it, you're going to crash, and you're gonna bang it all up, and you're gonna definitely abuse this thing just because you're learning. And that's totally okay. If you don't have that much money, you're gonna get a hardtail. That's pretty much how it is. A hardtail is like a rite of passage for mountain bike. So, hardtail frame, and that means that there's suspension in the front that moves up and down, but it's rigid in the back. It doesn't move. So you got your frame, hardtail. Now you're looking for a fork. This depends on what you're riding and your budget. So a lot of cheaper entry-level mountain bikes, they come with a Sun Tour fork, coil fork, which means that when you're compressing a coil spring, it's sort of like a bed frame, just doing or a pogo stick pretty much. And there might be a rebound dampener which slows down how much the fork comes back at you, but sometimes there's not that, and those forks, they'll get you through a bit, but you're gonna break them, and they kinda suck. But that's okay, because you can upgrade that, hopefully. So I upgraded this Manitou fork. Well, originally had a XCM fork, which I upgraded to an Air Fork Manitou. It's a fantastic fork, but whatever. So we got the fork done, and now in the frame. So wheels. Wheels are really important, especially wheel sizes. A lot of older bikes, probably pre-2015-ish, had 26-inch wheels, and mountain bikes, when they started, they had 26-inch wheels, and that was it. They're small, so they're light and durable. They're pretty much just what you want. But they're also not great for rolling over stuff, just because they're so small. So then, 27.5 wheels is what this bike has, and 29ers, which is 29-inch wheels, they started coming around, and they shook up the mountain biking market. And most modern bikes that you will find have either 27.5 or 29-inch wheels. 27.5s are a little lighter and durable just because they're smaller, as well as they're more fun to play around with. Smaller wheel size helps you toss the bike around a bit more. With 29ers, they're also pretty great because the large wheel size rolls over like everything. It's pretty much a monster truck, that's good if that's what you want. Now for tires. Tires go like 2 inches wide up to 3 inches wide, pretty much, besides fat bikes, but we're not going to get into that. So, this bike has 3-inch wide tires, which are plus size tires. They were sort of a big deal, but they've started to lose fashion. But I like them when I was learning because they give you a lot of confidence just going into a corner and seeing all that tire in front of you. You know that you're going to have the grip to get you around the corner, which I think benefited me a lot. And as I advanced on, I got a bike with skinnier tires. But plus size tires are amazing. They're also kind of comfy when you roll over roots and stuff. They act as sort of a cushion, which is nice if you're learning. Okay, next we have our drivetrain. This which makes you go. It's pretty important. So, most drivetrains nowadays, higher end stuff, they have one buys, which means that There's one gear in the front and then 10 to 12 in the back. And usually it's a wide range, which means that the cassette, that's what this is called, has like 11 teeth, which is your highest gear, and then like 40 to 52 or something in the back, which gives you pretty much the right cadence speed for what you need if you're pedaling super fast down a steep hill or climbing a mountain pretty much. And one-bys are fantastic. I highly recommend them. They're gonna be here for a while. And a lot of the lower end bikes, they still have 3 or 2-bys, which are fine if you're learning, but keep that in mind. You might want to upgrade that eventually. So 1-bys are a little more up to date. Now for brakes. Brakes are important. They slow you down. You know, if there's a sneaky corner, you want to trust those brakes that they're going to stop you so you don't go off of a cliff. So disc brakes are the new normal. They originally, mountain bikes had rim brakes, which means that there's sort of a clamp that goes onto this side of your rim, slows you down. But now disc brakes are everywhere now. So usually the cheaper bikes, they have mechanical disc brakes, which they work pretty well. So there's a cable running through your brakes, and then it pinches pads, which then pinch the rotor. But now some of the nicer stuff is hydraulics, which is like a hydraulic fluid. A lot of cars have that, so they work even better because you're pushing hydraulic fluid rather than pulling on a cable, because cables can stretch and but cables are fine. But one thing to know is that with hydraulics, they will need to be bled eventually. This can be sort of intimidating if you've never done it, so keep that in mind. They're not as reliable as mechanical disc brakes. And that pretty much sums up your mountain bike. That's pretty much all that you need to know, pretty much, for knowing what to look for in a mountain bike.